Wyndham and Tammy. Played for Coach Stroud for 2 years. One, he was the head coach at Galveston Ball in 1976. If you would please, Coach King, would you stand up? Would you stand up, please, Coach King? Coach Keys, would you stand up, please? Daryl Smith, would you stand up? Mario Watkins, Adrian Price. Adrian, Mario, and Daryl are younger than me. I was a senior in '76 when Coach Stroud was the head coach at Galveston Ball. Coach Keys and Coach King were assistant coaches on that team. They all made us better men, all those assistant coaches, but none more so than that man. I'm sorry at the time the girls said we took away from you, but your dad was like a father to us, like you said. You can sit down. Thank you. I only have one story to share with you, and I think it speaks volumes to the man that Coach Stroud is, not was, but is. Yes. Those three young men that I asked to stand with the two coaches are all three better men, along with myself, for having known, been taught, and been coached, as well as touched by Coach Stroud. Most of you here might not know it, but in 1976, there was a lot of racial disharmony in Galveston, Texas. A lot of people didn't trust each other in Galveston, Texas. As Coach King reminded me 2 days ago, Coach Stroud would always take the quarterback on a walk before the game, on a pregame walk, to discuss what plays he was going to call, because he had the first five plays scripted for every game. That's something I remember about him. And as the season went on, I tried to get him to change that. And he told me, young man, until we get this position, you'll never be able to do that. But Coach Stroud pulled me aside one time, and he asked me, why didn't I have more to talk about with him? Why didn't I discuss game film with him more? Because I too heard the sound of that projectile a lot. He actually taught me how to throw him. I said, Coach, the last coach that was the head coach here before you told me that he was going to change my position and that I'd be behind Donnie Chattel. Donnie Chattel happened to be an Anglo young man. And Coach Stroud looked at me in the face and he said, son, I don't care if you're purple. You're my quarterback, and you better trust me on that. I never had a thing to worry about after that. I loved him like a father. I still love him today like a father. Mrs. Stroud, girls, thank you. Thank you for letting us have time. I had an opportunity to both play for Jim Stroud, and if he was here, I probably wouldn't have said Jim Stroud. He was always coach. Even when I worked for him, he was Coach Stroud, and to this day will always be Coach Stroud. I feel like it was a unique situation because of getting the experience as a player at Lamar University. When he came in to coach the linebackers, he kind of saved me. Because I can tell you, Lamar did a really bad job of recruiting linebackers. And that's what happened. So I had to play, and I was getting killed. He came in for my junior and senior season to coach the linebackers, and my wife can tell you, kind of changed our lives too, because I was an accounting major when he got there. And before spring of my junior year, I decided I wanted to coach. A big part of that was
the way he taught us. You know, golly, he did a good job teaching us because we were bad. You know, 5'11", 215 pounds, playing college linebacker, I was undersized. My cohort, Tommy Griffin, was more out of Texas. He was a little taller than I was, but didn't weigh as much. You know, but he taught us how to play. I wasn't, you know, I love football, but I wasn't having a lot of fun until he got there because he made me successful. And I've never been around anybody that coached with more passion than he did. And then I had an opportunity after playing for him. A few years later, I had a chance to stay on as a GA at Warren and with Waller, and then he called me after he got to Marshall, and I'd only been in Waller for I went in March, and he kept calling me, wanted me to come to Marshall, and I was trying to do, you know, some of the things that he taught me too about that loyalty thing, and I'd just taken the job in Marshall, and I was going to stay. And, but he made me, as he could be convincing, he convinced me that it would be better if I came up there with him, and it was a smart move. And had a chance to go up there and coach for him and learn more football in 1 year, other 29 years that I coached. He shaped what a lot of things that a lot of coaches around that have worked for him that are still doing. One of the smartest guys I've ever been around in my life. But, you know, you're talking about like my dad, you know. He went fishing with Tommy and I. Tommy was, like I said, he was before I was. We'd go out in this 16-foot John boat out through the intercoastal canal, and he went fishing with us out there. And I mean, it was fun. It was fun. He made the game fun for me, and he allowed me the opportunity to coach for a long time, and through him maybe affect some other kids because he affected me. And there's no telling how many people you guys have affected because he affected you. And that's the most wonderful thing about it. And I guess y'all would have been when we went through all that, but I love him. He's the reason I coach. I don't remember who we were getting ready to play, but we were at Marshall. And he rented the movie theater in Marshall. I don't know if he rented it, or just told him he wanted it. So, but the movie we went to see, and we may have been getting ready to play. It had to be Love and John Tyler Longview, because those, you know, those were the three biggies. And but we had no idea what we were fixing to go see. It loaded up all the kids, coaches. We went to the movie theater. And we watched Patton. And it was so much fun to watch our kids when Patton is giving his speech at the beginning of the movie and then different times throughout the movie. It was so funny to watch our kids. We were sitting behind them and they'd start talking to each other and they would point at the screen and go, "That's Coach." When Patton was talking, they were just "That's Coach." As a staff, we were sitting there going, "Yeah."
I told him not to call me up here to talk. Anyway, I'm hardly hearing you. I ain't heard a word. So I said, well, I might get up here and talk because they can't hear me. And I asked my daughter, I said, "Can you hear that?" She said, "Oh, yeah." So I got kind of scared. But I was going to say a little bit about Jim. I know a lot of you people know him. Not only was he a great man, a great father, great husband, great citizen, but he's just a great friend. He was my partner. And I'm telling you, we were like brothers. And I couldn't wait to talk to him on the phone and go see him or him come see me and all. And it started a long time ago when we were playing with the Houston Oilers, and we were in Hawaii. And me and him and Don Brown, who's from Texas, played at U of H. And that's another thing, we run a Jim Rice. And I was at U of H, and I said, Jim, how come you so smart? How come you know so much about football and all that? And he said, Flo, it's a simple game. I said, it might be simple to you, but it ain't simple to me. But that's just the way he was. He was a smart man and knew football, knew every position. I mean, defense and offense, and that's hard, people. It's hard to know just one. And at ball, in Baytown, Lee, I'm so glad to see some of the football players from ball in Baytown. And he loved them. He loved every one of them. And I tell you, I was at Pasadena. That was my first coaching job. And Charlie Knight, who was from Rice too, I don't think he was as smart as him. Oh, little kid. We were there, and Charlie came up to him and said, guess who called me? And I said, who is that? He said, Happy Pappy. You see Pappy on that deal right there. It was Happy Pappy. And he was Happy Pappy. You know, he was with the Oilers and all. He said, I told him you were here. I can't go, but you here. And he said, call him. So I called him. And he told me, you want me to come coach with him and come on down. And I said, oh man, Happy Pappy. I said, well, we're going to have a good time, man. It's going to be fun and laughy after that. I'm telling you, buddy, when I got to Sweetwater, there wasn't no Happy Pappy after that. He was tough. He was tough. He was tough on the players and on the coaches. And he would always ask, am I being a little tough? I said, every day. He said, well, you got to be tough to win. You got to do this to win. And he did. And he was a winner. I've seen college coaches when he went to North Texas come from everywhere, Brigham Young, everywhere. Flew down to North Texas to see Jim. They wanted to know how to stop Jolie Dunn on defense. He was a guru, and it's both been the best. And Jim would whip him every time when he had the offense. And he'd come down and they'd say, how do you do it? He said, well, y'all come a long ways to hear something kind of stupid. And they said, what is that? He said, very simple. He said, all you got to do is watch the free safety. He'll tell you everything on defense what he's going to do. If he's going to stunt, if he's going to play regular, if they're going to double up, if they're going to play half, if they're going to play free, and all that. And they said, what? He said, that's it. Watch the free safety. He'll tell you. He'll go to position. He'll let you know. So we were at a ball game in Austin here, high school game in Jim, and this black guy goes, hey, Coach Stroud! And he said, you think you're somebody else around here named Coach Stroud? I said, I don't know, man. He said, I don't know nobody here. So we go over there, and it was this free safety that he'd been talking about. And he said, hey, Coach, you remember me? I'm the free safety. He said, yeah, I remember you. He said, Coach, I've been wanting to meet you. You ran me to death. He said, every time I did something, you did the other. And he said, I had to do this, I had to do that. You ran me to death. He said, if it had happened to me the first couple of ball games, I'd been through. I wouldn't have been able to play. But he was a great coach. And a lot of people respected Jim. And there were people that wanted him to go and be a coach in different places. And a bunch of them came and asked him to apply and all that, and he did. And this head coach says, I don't hire anybody that knows more football than I do, and you do. And I said, good Lord, that's who you hire.
I first met Jim in September 1956 for Claude. And those of you that are Rice Education, that was 59 years ago. He came to Houston from a little town of Crosbyton, Texas. I came from a little town of Colorado City, Texas. And we met on the Rice campus. We were truly two country boys in the jungle of Houston and higher academia. In spite of that, over a period of 5 years, we were able to cram 4 years of education with a little effort, a lot of luck, and even more beer. After I graduated, it was about 1962, I think, my wife at the time and Patsy and Jim were living in the same apartment complex in Houston. Patsy came home from work one day complaining that she had a virus, nauseated, not feeling good. That virus turned out to be Tammy. True. After the Rice experience, Jim and I coached high school football together for 6 years in Houston schools. And I was always amazed how he could be so very, very tough on players, and yet they loved him. And it took me a lot of years to understand that they loved him because he earned their respect. And that's very true. After those years of coaching, as you know, Jim went on to be a coaching legend in the Republic of Texas. I chose to go into the business world and moved out of state. And even though we were hundreds of miles apart and would only see one another every 2 or 3 years, our friendship remained very close. And then when I retired, all of a sudden 15 years ago, and moved back to Texas, we were able to nurture that friendship. And as Claude has shared and others, whenever he and sometimes the 3 of us would get together, the authorities would take the children and women off the street. So that's, I think, what I wanted to say, other than goodbye to my dear friend.
Thank you.
I had the privilege of joining Jim's staff in 1976. And I'm not sure, but was that your first year at Walmart? But I had gotten fired at another school, not the women, of course. And joined his staff. Claude was there, and know all the guys back here. And there's more to Jim Stroud than just football coach. A lot of people didn't realize it, but when I got there in '76, Jim instituted a program whereby, and it was unique, where we went out to every single player's home, met their mother and their father, spoke to them, told them what our program was all about, told them what we expected, told them we were going to instill a winning attitude at ball out. Something that they didn't always have. And they respected him. And one thing, the reason why Jim knew his X's and O's, let me tell you, and he could work that board, changing those kids would come in there, and he had worked that player board. He knew his X's. As Claude said, brilliant football mind. But one thing he knew that was necessary, not only in football, but in every aspect of life. Discipline. Discipline, discipline, discipline. It will lead you to success in every endeavor that you undertake, and without it, you are not going to make it. And I don't have to tell you that because we have a household of disciplined, successful people. And it was my privilege to have worked with Jim, and trust me, we did work. We did work. I remember we were watching films about 5 o'clock one Saturday morning. And it's tough, I'll tell you, we're all in that little old room and have projectors going. There was a loud noise. Well, what had happened was, and it wasn't the first time, I had fallen asleep and fell on the floor. He said, "Who was that?" Oh, it was just that. So I figured he didn't get enough sleep. But he was a grand man and raised a wonderful family and a wonderful wife. And he was a contributor.
How many say him from Okay. Jim would go home with me in Vicksburg, Mississippi. And I told him I was a legend there. Buddy, I was a legend. So he went home with me 3 or 4 times. Sure enough, boy, he come back. He told everybody, boy, he ain't lying. He is a legend over there. Then he started telling me, he said, look, in Crosbyton, I am too. He said, right there as you go into Crosbyton, they got a big arch. It says, home of Jim Stroud. I went to Crosbyton, there ain't no arch. But he would say that all the time, home of Jim Stroud. I said, oh, corn. Hey, Crosbyton ain't that big. One thing, you know. I said, man, that costs some money to put a big arch up there like that. I played for Coach Stroud, and I'm very proud to have done so. He was a tough guy to play for, but I love playing football. I did. I honestly love playing football for him. And I know you guys feel the same way. I'm proud to have played football for him. He liked it done his way, though. And I remember we had spring training, and we were practicing, and he had some kind of surgery on his stomach. I don't know what it was. And he'd been in the hospital, and I'm sure he was going crazy because he couldn't see us. And so he came out of the hospital, he's out on the field, and I didn't run a play or something the way he wanted me to run a play. It's because he was sick. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to kill you, old man. And I didn't say it quite like that, but I was kind of like, he said, look, you're going to do it the way I tell you to do it. And I said, okay, I'm going to do it that way. And I did it, and I ran into it. And I knocked him down, and I thought I could kill him. And I was like, this is going to be really not good. And he didn't really pop up, but he got up. He was hurting. He'd been like gutted, from surgery. And I was just sitting there, and he's like, way to go, that's the way to do it. And he wasn't mad, he was hurting, but I did what he wanted me to do. And that's how you did it when you played football, Coach Stroud. You did it the way he wanted to do it, and you did it. You rode that bike till you learned how to ride the bike.
Yeah.
And my last story that I want to tell is I live in Beaumont. And my sister called me yesterday morning to tell me that she had learned that Coach Stroud passed away. She lives in the hospital. And I had a bad day, bad week. And I just kind of pulled over to the side of the road, and I was just like, this is just the day has gotten worse. And I kind of thought about him. And I can remember one time, this is not 2 stories, but one time he was telling us in the locker room, you don't quit. Kid's sick, you don't want to go to work, you don't quit. You do it. You get up and go. And I sort of popped on the side of the road. And I was like, I don't quit, you know. And I got back on the road, went back to work, did what I had to do, thought about it, but I didn't quit. And I know y'all won't either. But the last thing I want to say is I've been out of football for years, out of high school, and I was home. My dad had passed away, and I was home. I was in college or something, and I was kind of coming home late at night or whatever. And one morning, I wasn't being a good son, basically. And one morning, the phone rang. My mom comes in and says, Thomas, oh, and I'm like, it's early. It's like 10:30. What are you waking me up for? And she's like, no, it's a phone call. You can take the phone call. And it was Coach Stroud. He's like, how'd you come here let's see, this afternoon really. And I went over there and saw him, and my mother had talked to him. And I was being a jerk. I was 20-something years old. But he made clear to me in no uncertain terms, as Coach Stroud would do, that I was to not behave like that anymore with my mother. And I didn't say I completely cleaned up my act, but I can tell you that I no longer behave that way with my mother. And I was maybe, I wasn't 10 years out of high school, but I was out of college. And that's just what I remember. The toughness, how he loved us, and I know he loves us all. And I'm going to miss him. I'm proud to have played with him.
And this is about Thomas Mayo. We were over at Baytown. And when he was talking about Jim being in the hospital, the darn hospital was right there by the school, right? I mean, you could see it really. You could see Jim in the window. And we were practicing, so we knew he was filming. We you know, he wasn't supposed to, but he was. He was doing it to see how we was going to do without him being there. And then he'd have his glasses on, the field glasses up there watching us, spying us on, going to get on to us, you know. So I'm down on that end where the hospital is, and I was messing with the defense and all, lining them up on different plays and all. And I ain't too smart. So I said, Thomas, listen now, you're going to be the coach today. I'm going to act like I'm doing the coaching, and I'm going to be doing all that, but you tell where to get, what position to be in, and everything, like I'm supposed to do, but you're going to do it. He said, okay, coach, because he's pretty smart. He's a lawyer anyway, you know. So anyway, he got up there more, and I mean, he'd start telling more, and they'd be jumping in position up there, and I'm back there doing all this like I'm doing it, you know. But he was doing all of it. And old Jim says, good gravy. You did a pretty good job out there. And I said, well, thank you, coach. But hey, I never told him Thomas told me he did that. I wanted to take the credit. But Thomas saved my life, boy. He got up in line and lined them up and everything. I won't come up here again.
Believe it or not, I played basketball, so Jim was a man for all seasons. He and I ran around together a lot. I'll give you one anecdote. We found this place called the Mad Lounge on Alameda Street in Houston. It was after football season, after basketball season. So they were selling beer for $1, all you could drink draft beer. So we found that place, and about 6 of us would go there every day, pay our $1, and the guy closed up in about a week because he couldn't have. And by the way, Jim didn't show up for about 3 days. We had to go check on him because he drank way too much beer. He did like basketball guys too.
One more quick one. During those 5 years at Rice, Jim and I had the great privilege of playing on the 1957 Cotton Bowl team, the 1960 Sugar Bowl team. Think about that.
Yeah.
And the 1960 Sugar Bowl team and coaches elected Jim the most valuable player.
Galveston ball. And like everybody said right here, I learned more in those 2 years and the 10 years that I coached. My title for Jim, I was the designated driver. Girls, I want you to know, your dad was around so long, I got he and Claude and a lot of those guys home many nights. But I was his designated driver. And I'll never forget, and I was a young coach. There's a lot of things that so much that we all learn. But Jim was one of those coaches that he would get in the center of the field on one knee during practice. I don't know if he did it with the rest of y'all at Baytown, but when we were practicing, he had us all divided up, offense, defense, but Jim sat on a knee, The whole practice, until we would come together for offense or defense. The thing that blew my mind was he was always smoking a cigarette out there. That was a shock for me back in those days, but he was always sitting there smoking a cigarette. And I remember one time, the first year I was there, one thing about Jim, he let you coach. He let you coach, and that was the one thing I appreciated. You had a job and you got to coach your kids. He didn't interfere with you. But one of the things that he taught me one time, we were getting ready to play somebody, and we'd watched all the film, and he would ask every coach on the defense, what do you have to stop? And I said, Coach, we got to stop the curl route. I think we were going to play St. Thomas at Ryan Stadium. I said, we got to stop the curl route. He said, okay. So we go out to practice on Monday. We go through practice, and I did all the things that we were, put them through a good practice. He never said anything to me, and after practice was over, we always met upstairs above the gym. That's where our office was. And he walked up to me, not cracking a smile, and he said, Coach, did you work on that curl route? I said, ooh, no, Coach, I didn't. And only I will say, since we're in a church, he said, I'll tell you one thing. I don't care what you do, but on Friday night, you better stop that curl route. I'll tell you what, we knocked their tails off on the curl route. We didn't do it, but I don't know what, we got the curl route. Another time, we had great athletes that got great athletes. All these guys went and played in college. Pro ball. They were great. We ran off, when we went there, we ran off All-Americans because, as Albert said, it was rough. It had such a bad reputation that I went there and stayed 5 years. I remember them trying to rock the bus and our own people and turn the bus over because we were white coaches. You remember that club?
Yeah.
But we turned it around. But I will tell you, we ran off young, they weren't men, we ran off boys. They could have made all-state, all-American, but they didn't have heart. They didn't have heart. These fellows here, let me tell you, they got it. They got heart. I think of the things that we did to them, and honest to gosh, I'd be on TV serving 4 life terms. The things that we did. But Darrell Smith, Darrell was my free safety. Made All-American, All-State for me. Played at Baylor, Cleveland Browns. And about the third ball, we couldn't get anybody to play us in free district because ball had such a bad reputation that nobody would play us in free district. We had to go all over the state to get a game. We had to go to Fort Worth. We had to go to Waco. We had to go to Longview. We had to go down to McAllen because they would not play us. And we had to go to Longview, and they had a guy named Jose Taylor who was the #1 defensive player in the state. They had been the state champions, I believe, the year before. And we go to play them. It was Darrell. Darrell was a junior with me. And we go down there and play. And they threw 2 passes the whole game. And Darrell ran them both back for touchdowns. So they threw the ball. Well, I was always on Darrell. And let me tell you, Darrell was a 9'4" sprinter. 6'4" high jumper. He could do anything. He's one of the greatest athletes I've ever seen. But I was always on him. I was hard on him. And as a safety, if he was on the right side, I wanted his right leg back. If you coaches know what I'm talking about. If he was on the left side, I wanted his left. Darrell wouldn't do it. Darrell always gonna line up like this. And I was unmerciful. I was on Darrell. So we get back from Longview, and this is the last thing I'm going to say. One of the greatest things Jim ever taught me. We get back, they threw 2 passes, Darrell ran back for touchdowns. We go back to practice on Monday. Darrell's sitting there squared up. I'm on him. I'm tearing him up. We go through practice. After practice is over, Jim calls me aside. He never got on his coaches on the field. It was always in private. That's the way a leader does things. You do it in private. You don't chew them out in front of anybody. He called me aside. He said, Coach, I know I am, Coach, but I want that foot back. He said, has anybody ever completed a pass over Darryl? And I thought about it, and I said, no, Coach. And I think about it, they haven't. He said, don't overcoach him. Let me tell you what, the rest of his career, he always lined up with his 2 feet like that, and nobody ever got behind him. Don't overcoach him. And that's one thing that he taught me. We love Coach. We have a great family. We all have great friends, and we call them our kids. They all grew up to be great men, and it's so happy to see everybody. We're going to miss Jim. We all love him. I know that. He taught me a lot.